If you don't know me, my name is Chris Witherow. I am the band director here at Marshall Middle School. Now, before we get started, there are a couple very legendary housekeeping items that we must address. First and foremost, the transition between the 5th and 7th grade is historically short, so if you would please plan on staying for the entire duration of the concert, that would be great. Secondly, if you need a small child that needs attention, for whatever reason, we can open the wing doors. You can still enjoy the music from out there. And lastly, I know you've all been waiting to hear if my ringtone's changed, and it hasn't. It's still Africa by Toto, but we don't want to hear that or yours. We want to hear their music on stage. So if you would please silence your phones, that would be great. I do understand that we ran out of programs. If at the end of the concert you would like to return it, if you just leave it at the stand, and if you would like a copy, I will certainly send you one. Just shoot me an email and I can absolutely do that. On stage is the 5th grade band, the first year of band here at the middle school. For those of you who were here in the fall, the classic Hot Cross Buns was performed. And since then, we have made nothing short of incredible amounts of progress. I'm excited to share these 3 songs with you tonight. This first one is titled Point 5. Our second piece for this evening is a new one I bought, just kind of thinking of this group in mind. It's titled Midnight Mission. Big action movie guy, so anything in that realm is always a win for me. This song specifically works on the staccato articulation, which is making your notes very separated from one another. We don't want to use the word short, but separated is kind of the term we like to use, and that's the big skill that this piece works on. This is Midnight Mission. Our third and final piece for this evening from the fifth graders is titled Fanfare Supernova. One of the skills that this one specifically teaches is playing a different thing even within your own section. So in the clarinets, for example, there's a portion that they're playing the same rhythm, but maybe different notes as their neighbor. So it kind of teaches to be independent as a player instead of maybe really leaning on those around you. After that, we will have a short transition to 7th grade and continue on with the performance. This is Fanfare Supernova. Alrighty, thank you so much for your patience. On stage now is the 7th grade band. Older, wiser, more mature. We'll see. Their first piece for you tonight is very quickly becoming one of my favorites. It is by a composer named Randall Standridge. It is titled Blue Sky Horizon. One of the cool things about this specific piece is it's part of a set of works that kind of go from 5th grade level all the way through upper college that he wrote this for. It's kind of a series on the different stages of life is kind of the idea behind this one. So this is Blue Sky Horizon. this evening is fairly different, whereas this first one was very high energy, exciting, kind of happy. This next one, Sneak Attack, is kind of as the name suggests. The whole point is try to surprise you with kind of what happens next. This is Sneak Attack. Before we play our last piece for you this evening, just several thank yous to administration, Peggy Reynolds and Bennett Apple for their continued support and leadership for us in the building. To my coworkers, Eric Novosad and Wes Myers, who help run the lights and just kind of continue to be professional sounding boards for all of this stuff. And of course, it would not be a middle school concert if I didn't remind you that ice cream exists. It is delicious, and your students deserve it after their wonderful performance. So, take that for what it's worth. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Our final piece Typically, our spring concert is kind of the Pops concert, but they convinced me that they deserved one early, so this is You're Welcome. Welcome. For those of you who might not know me, my name is Chris Witherow. I am the band director here at Marshall Middle School. Before we get started, we do have some very traditional housekeeping items to attend to. First and foremost, the transition between the two groups is historically short, so if you'd be so kind as to stay through the entire portion of the concert, I would be forever grateful. Secondly, if you have a young child that needs attention, crying, snacks, what have you, we can open the wing doors and you can still enjoy the performance while taking care of what you need to. And last but certainly not least, and I know you've been waiting very patiently to hear if my ringtone has changed. I'm sorry to disappoint, it has not. It is still, in fact, Africa by Toto. That being said, we're here to hear your students play, not your ringtone, as awesome as I'm sure it is, unless your ringtone is one of these tunes, in which case, you're a bigger band nerd than I am. On stage is the 6th grade band, and our first piece for you this evening is Mythos, which we have dutifully dubbed My Toes. Our second piece for you this evening is titled Surge. One of the fun parts about this piece is as the piece goes and builds, there's just a lot more going on at the same time. So what it asks students to do is really focus in on, okay, what is my part, what is my responsibility, and I need to kind of know how I fit together with everyone else while being able to kind of focus on my own thing. As music gets more complex, there's more stuff going on. It's a skill we have to work on. So this is Surge. Before we play our last piece for this evening, I just ask that we stay for the 8th grade portion. Their transition is super quick, and then we'll keep on with the show. Our final piece for this evening for 6th grade is entitled Ironclad. It has two things that are very common in band literature. It has a slow part in the middle, kind of the pretty part, and it also has 3/4 time, which is harder to read than you would think, but if you're very used to seeing 4 beats per measure, suddenly seeing 3, it takes some work. So this is Ironclad. All right, on stage are the 8th graders, the oldest and not necessarily tallest, but definitely taller than me, students of the building. I was going to say that they're wiser and more mature, but not so sure sometimes. Our first piece for you this evening from them is entitled Looking Up. It's just sort of an uplifting piece of kind of always looking on the bright side of life or what have you. This is Looking Up. Our second piece for this evening is entitled Ancient Fires. I bought this one specifically for this group. I listened to it and I was like, oh, I like this, I think they'll like it too. And in my head, and I was kind of looking at the music, and I was like, well, this is really going to challenge them. This is going to push them musically, and that's what we want to do. I handed it out, it was like 3 days in, and I was like, wow, I underestimated them. They absolutely nailed it. I mean, they did not need the amount of work that I thought they were going to, which is a good thing. So, I'm happy to present Ancient Fires. Before we play our final piece for this evening, I do have some thank yous and announcements. Thank you so much to our administration, Peggy Reynolds and Bennett Apple, for their leadership and support of what we do. Thank you to my coworkers, Eric Novosad and Wes Myers, for their professional sounding boards and just help along the way. And it goes without saying, thank you, the parents. I've been doing this for a while, and I come to work and I get to do what I love to do because you. So thank you. Claps are fine too. Yes. At the end of this final piece, everything on stage does need to go back to the band room. They all know what to do. It's a very quick and easy process. And it would not be a middle school concert if I did not remind you that ice cream does in fact exist. It is delicious and it is deserved. I'll let you do with that what you will. This final piece from the 8th grade is entitled Around the World in 80 Measures. It takes us on a journey around the globe, so we start and end in America, and every 4 measures we hop to a different country. So I would like to challenge you to see how many of these pieces you recognize, and if you could tell me the country of origin. Good luck. So, thank you so much. This is Around the World in 80 Measures.